Hello friends. So let us study about screen designing. Up till now, whatever we have studied in a human machine interface is all about arranging the icons. The first thing we studied what is Windows, what are the menus or what are the Vim and what are the interface devices. Later it was compared with the usability engineering. Say about your software engineering principles were compared. Then usability engineering came into or accomplished into screen designing. Later, third, we saw that how graphics user interface and web user interface came apart and how they played an important role in the interface or an interactive system. So now we're going to study today, we're going to learn about the screen designing. So what are the contents or how to do it, when to do it, what should we do it? Screen designing can vary from person to person, but there are certain things that you need to consider when you build up, when you design the screen for the users, for the name, or for your customers. So beginning, this again will map into software engineering principles that when building up the product, we need to understand that who is our customer. That first thing is know about your customers, what the customer wants, why they need it, what is the role in the market, and so on. So same thing with an interactive device or with an interactive session in your device or in your product. What things should be taken into considerations after learning of all other things about your web interface, about your graphical user interface, about your usability engineering, what the user think, how, or about the environment of the user, the features of the user. Let us talk about the screen designing. So the very first thing you need to understand about the screen design goals. That means what is your goal? Why you need to achieve this? So the first thing is about understand your materials. You understand your materials, you understand your requirements, like what are your requirements for the human computer interactions. It's like I'm interacting with my laptop currently and you all are watching me. So when I'm interacting to you, what tools I'm making, what interface making to use, such as I'm using this laptop, okay, I'm using the screen, I'm using the presentation, how my presentation is applied, like design code is a is a title which is of red color. So why this is a red color, why the title is a red color, so you to understand that okay, this is the topic of the design goal, the first topic. Then the contents, like understanding your materials. Then you have understanding your materials is the subtopics, like why do we need to understand. The first thing is like we need to understand the computer, about the computer, like resources, like limitations, about the capacities, about tools and platform, like what tool we need to use, what are the what platform, what kind of platform it's using Windows, what kind of Windows it is using, what is the hardware capabilities, or what is the software we are using, what are the tools that we are connecting to it, what is the limitations, and so on. So whenever you use any interactive system, you when you buy it or when you purchase it, when you use it, you need to identify, okay, these are the limitations, that only so much of the memory or so much of the capacity, and so on. Later, once you understand your computer, understanding your computer, then you have your understanding towards your people. Like why do you need to understand the people, why do you need to understand them? It's because you accordingly the system has to build up, okay. So you need to understand the social impact, the social influence towards the interactive system. Would they able to use it? Is it is easy to use it, or it is a portable? What kind of interface is made? Is it a interactive, is it a dynamic, or is it static? Like okay, this is just a web browsing or an articles to read or to follow up the pages, go into navigational flow, and so on. So you need to understand all these things very well when you design an interactive system. The first thing is why it is built up and what for it is built up. Then you have the purpose, like what is the purpose, why do we need this? So the start of any interaction design exercise must be intended users or user. So it's definitely pointing out to the users what kind of users we need. See, we require, like, we are, my system is building up for say college going students, so at least say from 18 onwards they're using the system is built up for the 18 years onwards. So what is the content of my website, or what is the contents of my interactive system is about educational thing, like about their subjects. They have arts, commerce, engineering, medical, and so on. So who need to log in? The students need to log in. They what they want, what is the credential of the login, the name, user id, email id, phone number, and so on. If this is a login id parameters, and then click on the subjects like which they intend to click, like arts, science, commerce, engineering, medical. Then when they click, and then those respective subjects will come up. So in this way, if I build an interactive system, how did I build up? First, I built up, I built it up. When I built up, the users were in my mind that these users are going to use. So your purpose is to identify your users, as it is stated that know your users. So when you identified your users, okay, your users are college students, your users are office going people, or your users are senior most. Accordingly, an interactive system has to be built up. Then who are they? As I said, they are young students. Then who are they? They are students, or they're working, they are interns, and so on. So of course, the first thing is just find out who are your users. Your users are, as I mentioned earlier, because this sentence, if this keep repeating up, you will try to understand, or you will understand, okay, for these users, my interactive system can be built up. Are they young or old, experienced computer users, or novices? Because nowadays everyone's are computer users. Are they very well? They use the computers and so on. But how they're aware of the computers? Okay, they're aware of mobiles. Everyone uses mobiles nowadays. I agree. I admit with that. But computers, laptops, okay, some people are very use. I mean, very dynamically they use the laptop. They know each and every functions. If they given an interactive system, will they able to communicate it? Yes, because if they're computer users. But who the beginners? Beginners say one who is learning to use a laptop, one who is used a computer. See, what happens is sometimes some people who have never used a computers in their life, never used a laptop in their life, and all of a sudden when you hand give them this interactive product, they will not able to usually. They have to cope up with the technical thing, interactive system or interactive product. So first they need to learn. They need to understand the basic thing of laptop, using of laptop or computer or anything. And this is how you need to identify, you need to classify, you need to train them, and so on. So again, the purpose says probably not just like you. Now we are all aware of the laptops, about the computers, and so on. So probably when designing a system, it is not easy to identify as if they're main users. You assume your own interests and abilities. Now talk to them. So if it's not possible, say it is hard to get yourself inside someone. Yes, this is the best part, because nowadays it is very hard to understand what is in their mind, what actually they want. So the best thing is keep on asking, make a note, call them for a meeting. Now, the first thing when you're devising or when you're building up your hardware product, say when you are doing you're building up an interactive system. Okay, that is a communication, two-way round, two-way communication between user and the interactive system, correct? Now, why you want to do it, what for you want, what is the purpose of it? So first thing is you need to realize, unless you understand them very well, if they are for the senior citizen, you need to understand what are the needs of the senior citizen. Would they cope up with your interactive system? Would they able to work it smoothly? What are the help or the guidelines you want to release for them? So that's what I said. And it is even if you have studied in your software engineering or software, not software testing, but software engineering, that you get yourself inside someone else head. If I'm preparing an interactive system for the customer, get into their shoes. Think about the customer. Think like a customer. What the customer wants. If the customer wants so and so application, so and so navigations, provide them. So make it design in such a way that according to the user you should design. It should not design according to you as the designer. Then people will not able tell you about things like really happen, not just how the organization say or how they should happen. So okay, let's talk about this. As I said, talk to customers. How will you talk? You pick up the phone and call them? No, call them at your office. Go to their office. Make a structured meeting, structure interview about their job or their life. Open-ended discussion. There is a discussion, there is a meeting, there is a review, and so on. Bringing up the potential users. Maybe the client can be a stakeholders and they are purchasing the product from you, and in return they will release to their end users. So the stakeholders are man in the middle. They will feel, they will talk to you as what the customer wants. But what will happen, this stakeholder will bring certain customer, then they will again have the structured discussions, meetings, interviews, what actually the end user need, why they need, how they will use it, what are the requirements, is the requirements is easily available or supporting their tools, would they need to buy another wires and so on, so etc. This is just an example what I have told you. Then people may also be able to tell you about things really happen, not just how the organization say they should happen. So this, according to the customer, what does the customer want? This will tell you the real things happen, not just your organizations, because after all, this is the end user need. As a stakeholder, if you purchase this product thinking that the end user will use, but later you will find that the end user landed up with the complaints. What are the complaints? They're not, neither they are using it very well, or they are not acquainted with the product, or the interactive system which has been built is very vague, absurd, and so on. So if you're talking to your stakeholder, get into the shoes of your customer, because in the end it is a customer or the end users who are going to use it. Now watch them. The next topic is about the watch them. Why? Although what people tell you is the uttermost importance, it's not the whole story. Now if the customer or the end user comes to me, and if he or she asks me about an interactive product which is required in their day-to-day life, okay, but that is not the whole story they are relating to me. What they are saying is about just a requirement. They are not saying me why do they need and so on. So professional in any field is very practiced and can do things in the domain. Of course, the domain matters much. Then an academic in the same field may not be able to do things, but she knows what things in the domain. Now, as academician, I'm aware of my subjects, but do I know other stream subjects? No, because I'm related to my stream, my subjects. Why should I bother about the other stream? That is the thing. Like if I'm an academic, so education, till the education, I know what are my subjects and so on. But suppose if I take the domain as an application domain like bank, hospital, office, and so on, so the people related to those domain can understand what are the functions, what are the features, and so on. Educationists cannot understand the bank features or the bank function, how the bank functions. Basically, they understand about the loans, about the deposit money, about the withdrawal of the money or the loans, but entire execution of the bank cannot be understood by the end users. Then the last point is about the use your imagination. That means you're creative. Later, your creativity plays an important role. So even if you would like to involve many users throughout your design exercise, this will always not be possible. See, if you're designing up something which is very important to the user part, and you call them every time you call the users will cannot land up at your office, at your workplace, and or at your environment, or you won't have every time a discussion and so on. So that would not be feasible for the users to reach to your part to decide, okay, I want this, I want this section to be removed, I want that section to be included. What is this and that section and so on. So this can lead to certain chaotic form. So at time whenever there is a structured interview, and one more thing, the interview will go on and on, so you need to decide the time, you need to decide the agenda of the interview or the meeting, because at the time of the discussion, various topics, several topics can come up and it can flow in many directions. So a leader, they should appoint a leader to maintain it at one flow, because it should resolve the purpose that why the users are here or why you people are there at the user place. Because we need to understand what the user wants. Why does the end user need, what does the end user need, how the design should be design. Okay, design is my part, I will decide what the design should be arranged, but my job is to understand what user wants, the first thing. So this, it may be too costly, it may be hard to get them for like hospital consultant, and it may be that there are too many websites, like there are too many jargons or the website absurd way, if we define, if we decide to do it, it cannot be fruitful to the users. Then comes the navigations. Now, how would the navigations please play an important part? So the navigations can be in a what should I say? That okay, you have learned about in the second chapter also. Now you're also studying the navigation, because this flows from one page to another. This flow the content from one part to another. So the navigation flow, or how the windows are arranged, what are the tools that we require to arrange, and so on. So the first thing is about the widgets. So the appropriate choice of widgets and wording in menus and button will help you to know how to use them for a particular selection or action. So if you have worked on your IDE normally, integrated development environment, which has like .NET, it has a VB. So you can see that when you click on the VB, there's a form, and on the left side, if I remember correctly, on the left side you'll find the tools. So when you click on the button, double click on the button, or you drag and drop the button on your form, you will just see that label is button 1, and you right click on it or you click on the properties, you will just find the properties. I think it comes on your, if I don't know, I had used this long time back, so I just trying to remember it, figuring out it must be on your left side. So left side are the property displayed, or on your right side, I think right side the properties are displayed and left side are the tools. So when the properties are displayed, that the name is about the button 1, and button 1 you can rename it as add. Okay, so this button 1 is renamed as add, and the function is to add. Okay, so the what I have noted is that it should have the proper meaning, or to understand the actions of the button. Like when you have start button, like there is a click on start. When you click on shutdown button, they you press, I mean they have three options like shutdown, sleep, or restart, right? So if you want to shut down, what you do, you click on shutdown, right? So what does a shutdown do? It shut down your system. Why I'm telling this is a basic thing, we everyone knows this, but when it comes to your designing, when it comes to your labeling, when you comes the user to understand, you give them a proper name so that the proper actions can be carried on. If there is a button subtract and your that button is doing the addition, it looks such a silly thing, like the button was named as subtract, and what the function of the button is doing, addition. Yes, it is the chaotic one. It is one of the like biggest mistake a person can do, a designer can do. So avoid all these things. When you do your design, focus on the design, like what you want, or what are the names of the buttons, how the buttons should be arranged, how many buttons should be taken out. Like if I'm talking about the buttons, there are menus, there are options, and so on. So screens, how the screen should be arranged, how the windows should be arranged, should they be tiled or one after one, they should be positioned. This we have seen in the last few sessions ago. Now understand the logical grouping of your button. Then you have a screen or windows. As I said, that what logical group, the screens are window. You need to find out things on the screen. So understanding the logical grouping of the windows and so on. Then navigation with the application, so that depends upon your application. You need to able to understand what will happen when a button is pressed. Like button is pressed, that is the event, sorry, but there's an action triggered. So it happened when the button is pressed, you what happened, a new page appeared. So an action is triggered when the event follow. What the event follow is button clicked, and what the action triggered, a new page came or a new color, a change of color, and so on. Then the process or the environment. The word processor has to read document from disk. Perhaps some are on remote networks. So this environment was is based on like the server is somewhere like in a LAN. This example is of the LAN, the word processor, or the word file, which I want to read currently, but it is in the remote network. So through the LAN, I need to access those files. Those are in the remote areas, not remote areas, but in remote network. So in the college premises, if I'm in one department and I want to seek the files of another department, so instead of going and taking carrying the file with me, I'll just use the network purpose. These are LAN, so I'll make use of the LAN and get access to those files. So in this way, we need to understand our system, we need to build our system, and so on. Then again, the navigation is continued. So how the navigation says that place to start when considering the structure of an application is to think who is the actual user. Again and again, see, the again and again the topics will appear, like who are your users, why do they need, and so on. So currently what I'm talking about is who is going to use my system, who is going to use the applications. It is me, I'm the designer. So end users, and who are the end users? Maybe they be student or the kids, and so on. So what do they think about it? So when you drafted this, when you devised a protocol, a prototype of your interactive system, and when you handed over this to the customer place, how did they react it? Will Did they able to solve it? Will they able to find some confused thing? It was a chaotic or it was a very clear to them, and so on. So certain remarks they need to understand. They need to understand the function, the working of the system, but basically they should know how to use the system. If they don't know how to use the system, then whatever you have built by working hard on the about the windows, about your buttons, and so on, all will be in vain, all will be in vain. So you first is who is going to use the application, the very first thing we need to understand. Then the second is how do they think about it, and what will they do with it. So that depends upon the applications of my navigation system or my interactive system, that what my system is supposed to do, or what my system is going to do. So the screen, the web page, or the display device should make it clear when you are in the terms of interaction or the state of the system. That means before I drew this, before I actually start working on my system, I should know the state of the system. As like I said, the button is pressed. Now, what is the action? Triggered action is like the web page has opened, or the colors had changed, or the image appeared, or the result appeared, and so on. For example, when you when you make an online form for your examination or for any work, any job, any sort of thing, all of you did your online form, sort of everyone has filled. So how did you do? There are the text, and there is a text box available, and on your right side there is a label buttons. Okay, the labels are like your name, your surname, your father's name, suppose your mother's name, then about your age, and so on, also criteria. And there is the later one is there is a submit button. Two buttons are there, there's submit or reset. Like one, if you have not filled up, again it will be on reset, like fill up again because you have let certain columns. So when you filled up, how clearly the instructions are, or how clearly those actions are. When you click on submit, what is the acknowledgement? What is acknowledged that yes, all the information that you have filled up is submitted successfully. If not, it's again on the reset process. So this is how you do it. This is how the interactive system does it. This is about the login forms I mentioned. But what about your system? Is your interactive system displays the state of the system, like what was the current state, what was the previous state, I mean the next state, previous and the next, or the existence state or the current state. This this state of the system has been taken from your state chart machine, that means from your UML. All of you have studied your UML. So what happens in the UML, like one, when your machine is on, because it is related to the machine. So when I on the machine, it goes to the next state. Like it draws the water, pumping out the water. Second, it draws the water. Third, it's filling up the tank, and so on. So how this state is changing from one state to another, one state to another, and so on. Then a screen, web page, or the display device should make it clear when you are in terms of interaction or the state of the system. Yes, that means my screen, my entire screen, my web page, my display device. Don't mix up with the words. Don't confuse with all these terms, because each and every terms has their own significance and their own meaning. So it should make it clear that when you're using the term of the interaction or the state of the system. Now, in order to improve the appearance of the page, many site changes the color of the links. I may remove the underline too. Yes, that's what I said. Uh, it is all about like how the buttons are visible. If I click on a link, like to more to understand, click the link here. Here is the word, okay, that's underline and that's a hyperlink. So first it was, I mentioned the color. First it was red. When I clicked, it became maroon. And when I visited that link, it became say purple, because I can change the colors of the hyperlink, like active link, visited links, and so on. Because HTML5 or HTML has given me the feature to change those color if I make the page of HTML. Then this is especially confusing if underline is then used as a simple emphasis on words that are not links. So how difficult it might be if I use the underline, if I use the bold, and it's used as simple emphasis on the words. If those words are not hyperlinks, if they are not used as links, and I've used as underline, bold, italic, so will the user be able to confuse with this? Yes, user can confuse with the term, like okay, this is not hyper word, like these are not link word. So what are the significance of using, like the bold, italic, underline, strike, and so on? Okay, again we are at the navigations, right? So these are the some do's or don'ts that it should be avoided by building up, that why you need to do it, why the user should understand, why the designer should understand when the user plays an important role, and so on. So when you click a button, or what will happen, like when I click a button, say my button name is some ad, so I clicked on ad, what happens? The numbers are added. Or suppose I click on the colors platlet are visible. Okay, I'll choose any color for the drawing. If I'm making a paintbrush, suppose if you're making an enhanced paintbrush, and if I use the button like click on it, so how does this helps me to identify what would be the action if I click a button? So that's what I mentioned, or what will happen. Then you can try the clicking button to see. Now, for your exercise, all of you, those who are watching my video, you can make out this. Click a button, like you make a button, you write some functions on it, and you just see what would be your action to it. Make a button, like suppose changing the color. This is very simple applications, like you click the button and we'll just see how the colors changes, because you have put the functions on the button. The button is function to change the colors, and so in case of website or in case of information system, this may mean that you have some sort of back mechanism to return. Of course, now how this is mapped in your real life, like when you browse too much of web pages and when you think of coming back, like you skip one web page or you want to read the previous web page again, so there is a back button. And back button, when you click at the button, it will, what it will do, it will lead you to the previous page back. That means come back and read that page again. But suppose if you're filling up your form, right? Or if you do the installation, okay, all of you have done the installation, right? Installation process, installing your software. What does you do? You click on next, next, next. But what happens, suddenly you remember, oh, I forgot to give the address. It should not be on C drive. Let me do it in a D drive. What you will do is press the back, and the back button will again come. You change the location, go to the next, and so on. So relate this example into day to day life. You can see all these things in your activities, daily activities, but you need to map, you need to understand. Be creative with this. Don't think the subject is very theoretical, it's sleepy, and so on. Think like little creative, bring creativity in your mind. Okay, if there is a button, what does that button do? Where the button lies, is it a back button or it is a home button, reset button, and so on. Now, talking about the button, we finish with the button. Now let's talk about the icons. How iconic thing you can do it, or what is the iconic form? How your iconic can be a good representation to your system, and so on. Since they are not self-explanatory, and they should always be accompanied by labels or at the very least tooltips. So a special care has to be taken if there is a same command or a button press means something different in different context. So these different contexts that changes the interpretation of commands are called the modes. Okay. Now this is something you're learning new. So so special care. Why the special care has to be taken if that same command or the button press means something different in the different context. Like everyone will have a different context to understand. Now everyone will not have the same logic as yours because every design part or every part will be different. So how will you make it? How will you do it? Now, a special care has to be taken, correct? So when I'm renaming it, I should rename in a such a way that how it should use, what the user will think when it was used or it was done, and so on. So different context that changes the interpretations of commands. These are called modes. And in an information system, like if you're building up an information system, that there is a related but a slightly different issue, and which is to know where you have been. Now there are lots of pages around, there are lots of things to explore, but it's a jargon which one to read, which are not. Because if you see the web pages, suppose if I go on web pages like a puzzle, if I want a puzzle, and if there is a lots of pages, but how will I say, oh, this pages I like most, this puzzle I like most? Because if there is a no download option or there is no, it's like they have not given nothing. Like there's a puzzle. The puzzle type, they have given the questions and then there's no space to write an answer. They have not given any answers. How do I check my answers are correct? So this is something chaotic form, because if I make a puzzle, if I make a something for the users, I need to give them answer, I need to give them hint, I need to give them some, there should be a mechanism of a pen writing on the screen. I have not given such things to the users. I have not made that interactive. It is just a static one. So that means it is a poorly developed information system. An interactive system can user needs to interact. That means I need to make available user with the help of there should be a pen, there should be a something, how the paint brushes are available. So there should be the tools, and with the help of the tools, the user can write answer on them and they can send them back. And once I get the answer, I will give them 2 stars, 3 stars. So this that all people can enjoy this most, because since as they have some spare time, they get bored with their the daily routine, they need some changes, they can go with this crosswords, or they can have this puzzle solve and so on. And since if my interactive system is based on the senior citizens who need such type of games in their daily activity to improve their memory skill and so on, to keep their brain sharp, to keep their brain active, I could go for the information system, and I should provide them certain tools, and in return I can give them certain stars. And if I don't know, I would help them. So you see how easily I build up an interactive system for the users, for the senior citizens. So this is how we need to think logically. We need to think creatively, because after all, who are my users? I need to identify the user level. Will the user will able to understand? Will my interactive system will help them to sort out what they want? If they're stuck in any difficulty, is there any guidelines released, or what are the help options? Is there any manual? Is there any help button? Is there any help menu, and so on? So this helps you to feel in control and understand your navigation. So in this way, senior citizen will not feel like they have been neglected, or they have like I have not taken care of them, and so on. So they will use my system very effectively. Then this is again your about global structure, hierarchical organizations. So this means if we look at the overall structure of the application, just a minute, did I left anything about? No, the difference. Okay, this helps you to feel in control, right? Now the again the navigations. I think this is the last part. Okay, this is a global. Now, this about talking about. Uh, we look at the overall structure of the classification, I mean the application, overall structure of the application. What do we have now? We have, if we talk about, we have the pages, the screen, the device states. As I said earlier, that how do my device states link to one another? As I said, okay, I have a puzzle released, like who am I? If this is a puzzle name, the first 2 pages are who am I, then third and fourth pages are my crossword, and so on. So how this help me to solve those puzzles? I later, if it is a PDF format, or if this is an interactive system, there is a button hint. If they click on the hint, there's a page that will lead to them hints, like page 1, answer 1, the hint is page, I mean answer 2, the hint is, and so on. So in this way, this will help them to interact with the system in an easy manner. Again, there will be a back button to come back to the home page, or there's a home button if they understand the home very well. Again, or if they want to stay with the back button. So this is how my logic applied, and this is how I built up an interactive system for the senior citizen. What was my content? Only the crossword puzzles, riddles, and so on. Then, sorry, then we look at the overall structure of the applications. Now, what are the application structure? That means it could have the various screens, the pages, or the device states linked to one another. Then one way to organize a system is in the form of hierarchy, like the parent window classified into certain child window. Again, they are classified into certain sub-child windows, and so on. So, as let's see what is the third point says, that it is a typically organized along the function boundary. That is, it's a different kinds of things, but it may be organized by roles, user type, or some more historic breakdown, such as modules in an educational system. That means if this is about the educational, okay, this is, let's talk about, I made a subject of human machine interface, and where there is you want that page, right, you want the navigation page, but there are lots of navigation used in your booklet. So suppose this is an audio booklet, and so what I would do then, I will make an index of navigation in which sentence or in which line the navigation word used. So there would be a breakdown of the models, like in chapter 1, page number 5. The navigation word is there. Then chapter 2, page number 50, there is a navigation, and so on. So this means this is typically organized along the functional boundaries as a model in your educational system. So any sort of information structuring is difficult, but there is a evidence that people find hierarchies simpler than most. Then one of the difficulty with organizing information or the system functionality is that different people have different internal structure of their knowledge. Of course, they may use a different vocabulary. If I use home, you will use back. If I use a reset, you will use the restart, and so on. So vocabulary of these words or the vocabulary of the buttons would have a different meaning to different people. So you need to, again, I'm saying, get into the understand, get their level, try to understand what customer wants, how they will work on your system, in which level they will work, and so on. So any of the system, like one of the difficulties is with organizing information or a system functionality is that different people will have a different knowledge. Like if I talk about, say about your coloring page, like your paintbrush. Now people will say, why to install the application when I have online feature. I will use that. There are a lot of, for the drawing, for the painting, there are lots of apps available. Why to download paintbrush? So see, different people will have different understanding, different meaning, different workouts, different form of behavior. So you need to understand, and accordingly you need to channelize into a common thing and build up your interactive system. Don't think what the user A want, user B want. Club together, make a common vocabulary. So before you this, you should be experienced to do this. You are, or you need to aware of doing this. Then any sort of information structuring is difficult. But there is a evidence that people find hierarchy simpler than the most. Now, if I make the hierarchies and if I want to jump into the main window, don't you think it could be a hazard or it could be a lots of confusion, chaotic form? Yes, it can be. So one difficulty with organizing information or system functionality is that people have different internal structure for their knowledge and may use different vocabulary. The critical thing is the naturalness of the classification, which part, if they want, and may use a different vocabulary. See, vocabulary words is repeating again and again. And why do you think this vocabulary is repeating? Because again, the word plays an important role. Your action plays an important role. When click on the button, what will be the action? What are the vocabulary you used? Have you used a different form? Okay, if you're using the toy library, remember the first example that we have started with. So what example, what names would you prefer to use for, and so on. So that depends upon your users. So the critical thing is the naturalness of the classification, which itself may depend on the user's purpose. For example, if the user wants to look up information of a particular city, an alphabetical list of all city names would be fast. But for other purposes, a list by region would be more appropriate. But if the okay, this is more appropriate. But then, if I don't know where the city lies on which region, if I don't know this, then for me, alphabetical list is appropriate because the cities' names are arranged in a chronological order. So if I want to find this it's like if I want to find cities that start with S and I don't know which area or which part of the country they're located. So this alphabetical would be helpful for me. But just in case if you know in which continent they are, in the region, in the part where they are located, so it could be very helpful for you to find out into that region. So you should give multiple options to the user to search to provide the informations, and later, because as we discussed, the vocabulary can be different, the knowledge can be different, all have a different vocabulary, all have understanding is different, and the internal structure of the knowledge is different. So the critical thing is naturalness of the classification, which itself may depend on the user purpose. Then next is, okay, global structure, the dialogue. Now what is the dialogue? It's like this is right currently this is not an interactive system, because an interactive system where I can acknowledge you, I can talk to you, you are talking to me, that can be an interactive like two-way communication, but this is only one-way communication. So currently we face some dialogues like, hi, how are you, hello, I'm doing fine. Like person A is talking to person B, so it's like, hi, hello person A, how are you today, person B, I'm good, how are you today, and so on. So in this way, like a communication makes a dialogue comes up, a dialogue is exchanged between the two person or two scenes and so on. But how does these dialogues help us in our interactive system? So let's see how they help us. The first thing is like in a pure information system or a static website, it may be sufficient to have a fully hierarchical system, perhaps with the next and previous links between the items in the same group. Like it have a fully hierarchical system. If I talk about a hierarchical, so it could have a previous link, it could have a next links between the items in the same group. If I talk about, if I speak about, uh, there is a parent form, right? And then I have certain child forms. Like there are 10 child forms. Okay. And if I'm in a child form 5 and I want to go back to the parent form, so what will I do? I will use the next or previous link, go to previous page. That is the previous page. If I'm in a page 5, I want to go to the home. That is on clicking on the home button. But if I want to go to previous page, that is page 4, then I have to use the previous. If I go to the next page, I will use the next link. So this previous and next links are vocabulary that are used. But if I want to go to the home window, the home button, there should be the home button like go to the home. In this way, it should be built with the clarity. Then in HCI, the word dialogue, like in human computer interface, the dialogue is used to refer to the pattern of interaction between the system, the user, between the user and the system. So currently I'm talking to my laptop, but my laptop is doing certain action. No. If I'm saying my laptop open, like how you talk to Siri or Google, when you say call ABC, the Google will start calling ABC. Like the phone app will open and will call the person like ABC. This is an example I'm giving you. So if you like, if you're on Amazon app and you want to search like a cream, what you will say cream, and Amazon will display that Alexa will display all the cream options and so on. So this is how your speech is identified. This is how your speech is get converted. That means your system is interactive. The speech is get converted to your desired items. So your system is anticipated the speech like cream. Cream options are given below. What type of cream? And you again say, I want shaving cream, I want soft cream, and so on, and so on, so on. So these are the examples. So now, when you fill up a form, this again I say the acknowledgement. What is acknowledgement? Like successfully submitted. That was a dialogue exchange. That means from the server, my information is stored in the server, in the MU server, suppose, and all the informations have been stored, and acknowledgement, MU acknowledgement saying that your information were filled up successfully, and this is your enrollment number. So this is how your system is interactive. This is how your website is interactive. This is how your application is interactive, and so on. So if there is a dialogue communication between your system and your laptop with certain acknowledgement, with certain feedback, So this will help you to understand that all your information are successfully filled up, or you have, if there is a negative one, you would understand that certain things have been left out. Now, for example, when you go for commerce, e-commerce, suppose when you go for your online shopping cart, when you see the cart is full of your items, now you want to purchase it, like you want to purchase by paying the. So when you make the payment, they ask you certain question like by how you will make payment, like POD, like payment on delivery, or your from your online bank, or for your credit card, debit card, and so on. So you choose the option. Again, that option will come the detailed information, so and so and so and so. You fill up the informations. Then there is again information like we do not fetch till your bank accepts this. Okay, your bank has, I mean, the middleman I mean, after this payment process, there's acknowledgement, like if there is a fail, they will give you the payment has failed due to like internet connection, or like the payment has not been received yet, or if there is a positive in the payment, they will say acknowledgement is like thank you for the payment, if you need to shop more, please click here. In this way, this kind of acknowledgement helps you to understand whether your payment has been successful or not, whether you have purchased or items will get you in a successfully or not. Okay, leave with this payment option. Everyone knows what are those payment, how the payment is done in online, because nowadays everyone does this. If there's a chances of returning that item which you have purchased and you have not liked it, so what are the options, how your system will interact? You will either call the customer care. Again, for this you need to interact with the system of your application online shop. You will call this customer, or you will chat with your customer, talk to your customer through your message service. You will type certain message, customer, I mean the I mean the from the executive of that shop, online shop, will give you some certain messages. Okay, your item which was not delivered at your place, or which has been delivered wrongly, my executive will come and pick it up at so and so time. So in this way, how the negotiation takes place, how the communication takes place, this is through the dialogue. But since there is a third party, I mean there's a person to person, through the app we are talking it, that is a different. But now currently, how I'm talking to my system, how my system is communicating with me, that is different. I'm using a chat service to talk to the customer care people to retain my product. That means that the people, there is also people on the other side, and I'm the one. So two person are communicating through the app. That is different, because this app is acknowledging me. But when I'm talking with my system, like I'm communicating, okay, I'll purchase this, sorry, this is not available, again the system is saying me this. When I'm talking, when I'm making a purchase, making a payment, how the system is negotiating with me, how the system acknowledges me, that is different. So that is a dialogue, exchanging a dialogue. Then we have a simple way to use a network diagram. Okay, so here we have a network diagram. That means the network diagram will show that what happens, what leads to what. Shows what happens. It's like there will be certain network thing, that what will happen, what is leading me, when include branches and loops, and there could be a task oriented than a hierarchy. So this would be quite not confusing, but your network diagram can make it clearly understand the presentation of your interactive system. Always remember, don't go for theoretical one. Make it into a creative one. Make it a diagrammatic form. Make it a pictorial representation. I'm not talking about the flow chart and all. A network diagram can help you to understand that how what happens when I click on this link, or shows what this page is leading to where. When we are including the branches and loops, that means it's coming to loops, like moving around and around. Then next we have about screen design and layout. So who is using this? That means a single screen image often has a present information clearly, and also the act as a locus for interacting with the system. That means the basic principle of at the seven levels reflect those in the areas of interaction design, like what the user is doing, what the user wants, like think what the information is required, what comparison may the user need to make, and so on. like in what order are the things likely to be needed. And these are the basic principle that this will help you to define to develop my interaction designs. It's like the first thing is uh, ask what is the user doing. What the user doing, is it painting, is about the reading, is and so on. Nowadays in this period there are certain, everyone has their own app built up. So you can also try to build up your own app, giving them, if you're good in painting, if you're good in craft, if you're good in pencil drawing, different types of coloring art, painting art, you can show them that how to do it, what to do it. So how will you define this, how will you do it? So when you develop this, the first thing about the contents, when we are ready with the contents, then how this will be presented in front of the user, because user should convey your idea. If you are the owner, if you build up, not we are talking currently about the user, not we are talking about the designer. If I want to build my own app, what will I do? First I will do the content work, content research, like what how the contents will help me user to make it more interesting, more beneficial to users to reach out the information what they want. Then the basic principles, so like what the user doing, the first thing, then what information they require, what comparison may the user need to make. So what information is like, what comparison may user need to understand, or how, oh, see, there will be lots of apps, there are lots of website containing the same thing, but how your apps, how your information is relevant better than others. So you should prove your own creative features, helpful functions to the according to the customer. So in what order are things likely to be needed? And what are the things, like suppose if you're showing the paint, so there are the paint colors, the methods of painting, you need the cardboard, paper, and so do you want to show it by doing it, are you requesting the people customers to follow accordingly, or they're watching you, then you will ask. The first is about the practical, like you will do it in front of the customer, later you will ask them to do it side by side. So like if they start doing it, then it will come to your screen and you will see, oh, this is not correct, you need to correct this, and so on. So if you build an interactive system in this way, this can help a user to understand a lot of things. Design form flow functions, that means let the required interaction drive the layout. So you should have your own layout, the design, how the things should be arranged, what are the helpful thing, what are the helps you give to the user, and so on. So like this, I mean, this layout, screen design layout, that means grouping and structuring. Group, that means this is not about the logical structure or the other structure. That means how your information should be visible to the user, in what structure. If things logically belong together, then we should normally physically group them together. That means this may involve multiple level of structures, or this reflects the following logical structure, like order, administrative information. Suppose if it's like billing details, as I spoke about the online purchasing and all, billing details, then you have a delivery details, on which delivery address should that package should be sent on, and so on. So order information, the like order line 1, order line 2, if there's like there, if you have a 10 orders, you have at the time you purchase that 10 things items, so like 10 item informations are there, your order informations are there, your delivery details are there, billing details are there, and so on. So how they should be managed, how they should be structured, they should be not be clubbed together, they should not be cluttered. It should be developed in such a way that it should look good. Billing details should have, like, proper name, what are the costs, and so on, what how you have purchased by online banking or by cards payment, and so on. So in this way, you should design your own system. You should identify your customer needs, and later you should put into the practice like how the customer will acknowledge your website or your graphical site or your interactive system and so on. So first thing you should talk about when you talk about like know your customer. If I now the time is up, so quickly we'll revise the topics what we have learned, like from the know your customer, what customer wants and what's the purpose, the navigation, the flow, and so on. So this leads an important role in the designing. So here we finish with your screen designing part, and next time we'll talk about next subject, next topic, sorry. Till then, bye.